Hello, and welcome to Laura Banks Fine Artist YouTube channel. Today I'm super excited to be in Hamilton, New Jersey at Grounds for Sculpture. For those who aren't familiar with Grounds for Sculpture, it's a 42-acre sculpture park and museum that's located in Hamilton, New Jersey. If you're not familiar with my art, please visit my website at laurabanksfineart.com. Also, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. It really helps my small channel grow. So, Grounds for Sculpture was founded by artist and philanthropist Seward Johnson. The sculpture park grew as an extension of the Johnson Atelier, which is a commercial workshop that helps artists to fabricate their large-scale sculptural works. So, a quick fact about the gardens: approximately 40% of the sculptures that you would see here were actually fabricated at the Johnson Atelier. So, since its opening in 1992, Grounds for Sculpture has been displaying works by American and international artists and is focused on collecting works made by some of the most important contemporary sculptors. Grounds for Sculpture boasts 300 plus sculptural works and installations that cover 42 acres. There are also 6 indoor galleries that feature temporary exhibitions throughout the year. So, it was a beautiful day in June when I got a chance to visit Grounds for Sculpture for the second time in my life. The first time that I got to visit this place was when I was a new art student at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, and I hate to say it, this was over 15 years ago. I was impressed by how much had changed, but also I was kind of disappointed on how little I remembered about the place. So I reserved my tickets in advance online. Apparently they sell tickets there, but if they're at capacity, they won't sell any more tickets on site. So it's always a good idea to get your tickets before you go. Members do require reservations on weekends and holidays, and I can definitely see how this place would really fill up, especially in the summertime when everybody's out of school and looking for an adventure. Now, there was an interactive digital map that you could download to your cell phone. I tend to like paper maps. I find the digital ones kind of clunky. And it wasn't until I got home that I realized it had a geolocate kind of feature that would have shown me where I was on the map. That actually would have been very useful at the time if I was in the garden, but I didn't realize this till I got home. I did see another guest with a map at one point, so I do know that the paper maps do exist, but I never found one, and eventually I just ended up wandering and meandering down all the trails and the garden paths, which was actually kind of exciting. So as you drive in, your tickets are checked at the ticket booth, and then you park your car. I actually started by going to the Seward Johnson Center for the Arts building. You can recognize this building because out front there is this giant sculpture of these 2 figures dancing. When you first enter this building, there is a welcome center. There is guest services. You can find the museum shop if you want to pick up any souvenirs. There's an orientation room. There are bathrooms. There is a west gallery and an east gallery. You can find the auditorium here. There's also a Van Gogh cafe. So the cafe is inspired by Van Gogh's Cafe Terrace at Night painting, and there you can find some French-inspired street food. There are also other places that you can find to eat here at Grounds for Sculpture. There's Rat's Restaurant, there is the Peacock Cafe, there's the gazebo, and then you can also do something called Picnic in the Park. Now, the sculpture park is divided into 8 different sections, and that includes the Fairgrounds Gardens, Rats Woodlands, Museum Orchard, Sculpture Court, Great Lawn, Lakeside, Peacock Run, and the Meadow. Like I said before, at some point I just decided not to use the map, and I just walked around the different areas of the gardens. I was really blown away by just the variety of the different sculptures that were here at the Sculpture Garden. There was really something for everyone. The styles ranged from classical, which I tend to like a lot, to very abstract. Some of the sculptures were very small, while others were very monumental in size. I absolutely loved an area that was in Rat's Woodlands. It was close to Rat's restaurant, and there was this beautiful pond with these beautiful water lilies around and these koi fish that were swimming. The koi fish were not shy. They would come right up to the bank and kind of look at you. I guess they were expecting to be fed, but they were just this beautiful, calming feature. There is this very large sculpture that is the head of a woman entitled Lucantha, and it was created by Philip Grossman. This sculpture sits out on the water and is just a beautiful addition to this area. Another prominent feature in this area is Rat's restaurant. It is named after Ratty, a character from The Wind in the Willows, and is really reminiscent of a cozy French countryside cafe. It is open for lunch, midday, and dinner, and then there's brunch on Sundays. They definitely recommend reservations. This area was closed until the restaurant opened, so don't expect to get to the little walkway that leads up to it until they open it. Although I didn't get to eat here, it was fun to walk around, and some of the views from the outdoor table seating were beautiful. You can look out across the pond and see the Monet Bridge, which was very charming. You can also find a lot of sculptures by Seward Johnson in this area. You have to pass by one sculpture called Sailing the Seine 2, as well as Viral Art. Were You Invited is another one of his sculptures in this area, as well as his Pondering the Benefits of Exercise sculpture and Employee Shower sculpture. So as the founder of Grounds for Sculpture, Seward Johnson's sculptures can be found all over the Grounds for Sculpture area. A lot of his works were inspired by famous 19th century paintings. It was really fun to go home and then look up the actual painting that he was inspired from. And it was a neat experience to become a part of the paintings. So here are some examples of Seward Johnson's sculptures that were based on paintings. I'm not going to even try to pronounce the title of this or the title of the painting. I'm sure they both look very familiar. Here is another example entitled Erotica Tropicalis. And this was inspired by Henry Rousseau's The Dream painting. I really liked the environment of this one. It was surrounded by bamboo and really hidden in the shade. Another neat detail were these shadowy figures that were in the same area of this sculpture, and they were nestled in the bamboo. It was very interesting to see these white eyes peeking out at you. Another interesting one of Seward Johnson's sculptures was the Chamber of Internal Dialogue. So this sculpture was actually a building, and on one side of the building was a representation of the famous painting The Scream by Edward Munch. On the other side of the building, there was a more tranquil depiction of Odilon Redon's Silencio. So what surprised me the most about this sculpture was that you could actually walk inside of it. And inside you would find a therapist's couch, a lamp, and a side table. And it was supposed to provide a place for sitting and contemplation. And then on either wall, you could see the recess image of the sculptures that are found on the outside of this building. Now, as I was walking around and exploring, I noticed this really creepy sculpture peeping out through the trees. And at first it almost seems like a real person, but then on closer inspection you find that it's actually a sculpture. So then if you walk off the path and kind of behind the trees, you can get a better look at this sculpture. And so it's of a male figure, and he's standing in what I call a suggestive posture of an individual in desperate need of a bathroom. I could not find this sculpture on the map, so I think that it's supposed to be for those who just kind of stumble upon it. So if you want to find this creepy sculpture, you can. It's located in the Fairgrounds Gardens section of the gardens. You want to first find the sculpture entitled To Marcel Duchamp, 1887 to 1968, artist, tool, and die maker. And this is by William T. Wiley. The number on the map is 126. It basically looks like a giant silver pyramid. After you have found the pyramid, then you'll notice a stone wall to the side of it. And what you want to do is walk behind that stone wall, and there you will find the creepy sculpture. As I was wandering around the gardens, I came across the museum building, and in that building they had a temporary exhibition that was called Clifford Ward, I'll Make Me a World. And this exhibition will be on view from May 18th, 2025 to January 11th, 2026. Many of the works seen in this exhibition were fabricated at the Clifford Ward studio on the grounds for Sculpture Campus. It was definitely an impressive exhibition. When you enter, there is almost looks like an army of these sculptures standing, gazing out the windows. And so to create these sculptures, the artist drew from a variety of mythologies and cultures. Sculptures can be found absolutely everywhere. They're clustered among formal and informal gardens. They're in courtyards and hidden down every winding path. The fun of it is really finding something new and unexpected. At one point, I even saw a live peacock perched on this archway. I had been hearing him all day, but then I actually got to see him. I think probably my favorite display was found in the sculpture court. And this was a sculpture called The Nine Muses by Carlos Dorian. It was constructed out of Vermont granite and took about 7 years to complete. Just for reference, the 9 muses in classical mythology were the daughters of Zeus, and each were gifted with a unique artistic talent. I think I loved the contrast between the classical forms as well as the abstract, uncarved forms of the rock. And then I loved this moat that surrounded the display that was filled with lovely water lilies. It was really fun to walk up onto the platform with the sculptures and get a better look at them. Now, Grounds for Sculpture is big, and I mean big. So if you're going to come, wear your walking shoes. But by the end of the day, I was getting really tired. And it wasn't until I got home that I realized I missed an entire section of the sculpture garden. The area that I didn't get to was called the Meadow, and you can check out the website to see some of the sculptures there, or definitely go and check them out yourself. I know I will be back to be checking out this area because there's just so much to see. So thanks for coming along with me on another fun art adventure. Hope to see you at the next video. Have a great day.